All right, we're going to talk about Pinterest today, and I have some slides so if I can figure out how to share those, we will try one more time. For those of you just joining us, we have tried this before and it didn't work, so we'll see if we can that second time work better. All right, so we got this. All right, do you see my slides?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So we're going to talk about Pinterest for entrepreneurs. I've been a blogger using Pinterest since the very, very early days of Pinterest. So I started as a blogger with Pinterest, but have used it for selling as well. I used to run an e-commerce store that had toys and stuff like that. Also sold a lot of things on Facebook Live, like leggings, opened oysters. You name it, I've sold it on the internet. Essential oils, all sorts of stuff. So that background is I want to take this from kind of the start at the very beginning and look at how Pinterest is different. Oh my gosh, my internet is unstable again. Um, let's start with what is different about Pinterest. We all have been on Facebook and Instagram, and some of us have been on other as well. And you see a very similarities. And I think one of the reasons why Pinterest is a little bit off-putting to some people who haven't been there before, or even if you've been there just using it a little bit or tried it for a business, is you're like, it's different over here. And it really, there are some things that are different, but they're actually things that I need you to like realize that are actually good and you can calm down about. This is the anti-panic thing. So one of the things that I love about Pinterest is you don't need multiple accounts. So no matter if you have very, very diverse interests, you can have the same account. So like for me, I run kids activities blog, but my Pinterest account is Holly Homer. And then I have kids activities, of course, boards with kids activities. I also have boards for blogging. I have boards for, I love cowboy boots. I live in Texas. I also love interior design. So I have a lot of boards that have to do with, I love tile. I love tile. And so there's just lots of different things that I can have a board for all these other things. I don't have to have a different account for business and a different account for personal. And I can't, people really are following boards and following conversations for the most part. And Pinterest knows what they're wanting. So like if you hate cowboy boots and would never ever click on one, you will likely never see what I pinned to my cowboy boot board, if that makes sense. Is that the Pinterest algorithm is going to feed you what you generally repin, what you, and in fact, I don't even know about like back in the early days of Pinterest followers, you did see pretty much everything they pinned. That is no longer the case, just like any on other networks. You also don't have to be consistent. So like, the death of Facebook algorithm is like you posting 3 times a day for the last 2 years, and then you go on a 10-day vacation, posting nothing for 10 days. And when you come back, Facebook's like, yeah, we just decided you don't want to be here anymore. Whereas on Pinterest, and we'll talk about this in a minute, the average user is pins and spurts. If you think about it, they're going to be like, like they're planning a wedding. So they pin 532 things, and then they are off Pinterest for 2 years, and then they're planning something else, or they're buying something else. So it's a very inconsistent algorithm, which we can use to our benefit. And there's nothing that is going to be a problem if you're consistent, but don't worry if you didn't pin yesterday and you pin 5 things today, no big deal. You can also pin whatever you want. You're not like, it's not like a limited space situation. So like if you have pins that you find that have other people's sources, you can pin them. Don't worry about it. Like it's like, in fact, it's a nice thing to pin other people's things. And it doesn't take away from your account at all. Also, if you pin a lot of your own stuff, no big deal. As long as it's not spammy, you're fine. Pinterest actually likes that. So what is same about Pinterest? Pin, it's an algorithm. So pin what is popular. Just like any other algorithm, good performs good, bad performs bad. So just don't pin crap. I mean, let's be intentional. Don't act like a spammer. Pinning the same thing over and over and over again, spammy. Don't act like that. WWUD, what would a user do? And this is really good advice for any algorithm, is that remember the algorithm is in place to give the users the best experience, to remove the spam, to deliver what the user's wanting. So what would a normal user do? When in doubt, think like a user. If the average mom in Utah would do it, it's okay. And one of the things that this comes up with, and we'll talk about this in a minute too, specifically about boards. So 2 days ago, I started a new board. I realized I didn't have an Earth Day board, and I have met lots and lots and lots of content around Earth Day. So I started an Earth Day board, and then I filled it with 25 pins, all within an hour. And you're like, oh my goodness, you just pinned 25 Earth Day pins in a row. Yeah, but what does a mom in Utah do when they're planning that prom? They're going to pin a whole bunch of stuff to that board. They're not thinking, the algorithm won't like me if I pin 25 things in a row. They don't even know about the algorithm. So that's where, thinking like a user can help you get out of the mindset of, oh, I have to play the game. No, like if a normal person would do it, the algorithm has to account for that. So let's talk about creating your account or structuring your current account. So your account is basically, like we talked about, it's an umbrella over the boards so that we're less worried about what the account, like the vision of the account is, and we're more vision of the individual boards. If you are using Pinterest for some amount of business, whether that be, maybe you're in a network marketing, maybe you have your own business, maybe you're thinking about starting a business, go ahead and switch your account to a business account. It's literally a toggle switch in the settings. It doesn't really change anything, but it gives you some more tools for analytics, and it also gives you the ability to put money behind things if you wanted to. I've experimented in the past with Pinterest advertising. I haven't done it in the last few years, so I don't know a lot about it, like right now. But that it is an option. It's just like Facebook advertising or Google advertising, that there's a whole suite of settings of tools that you can use. So we're not really going to address that today, but that is available if you have a business account. I have to move this so I can see what's going on. So let's talk about the boards that you're going to create. Since you're going to have multiple boards, and here again, there's really no hard and fast rule. I would not look at my account and say I should do what Holly does in this. I probably have 150 boards. You do not need 150 boards. I do not need 150 boards. At this point, it's kind of like the clutter because I haven't moved in a while. So I have all these clutter boards. But let's talk about that for a minute. It's kind of like any other algorithm is, if I haven't pinned to a board in 3.5 years, which is highly possible that you'd find boards on my Pinterest just starts to ignore it. Just like if you have content on your blog that you haven't linked to or anyone's seen in 3.5 years, Google's going to start to ignore it. So this is kind of like how you keep a board active and in the forefront of Pinterest is by pinning to it regularly. In fact, Pinterest would rather see you have a few boards that you're pretty active on than have 35 boards that you're only pinning one or two. But do not think that those boards, and this is where you can get really highly niche. So I have a board that's called 10 Things to Do with Kids in Blank City. That board I set up maybe 5 or 6 years ago for like, hey, here's things to do in 150 cities. And so I have a board that has 150 pins, one for each city. that because Pinterest is also a search engine, when people say, what do I do in, Milwaukee with my kids, they may end up in that board because it has a really clear, message across the board that I don't necessarily have to keep pinning that same Milwaukee pin over and over and over again, if that makes sense. So thinking about like, yes, if it makes sense to be active, then go ahead and be active. If it makes sense that, hey, here's the amount of information I have, that's enough. Like it's more of a resource board. It's going to be fine. But then there's also like, is an old board, and for those of you who've been on Pinterest for a while and you go in and you're like, yeah, I'll never pin to that board again, and it's really not relevant, it's okay to delete it. Just get rid of it. Like, you can house clean and it's totally fine. There's also ways that you can move pins from one board to another. Like, don't overthink this unless that pin is just bringing you thousands and thousands of clicks to something. It's fine to go ahead and just clean house and then get started. So cover the main topics of your business and your interests. Once you're pinning regularly, and in fact, I would start with just a few boards. And then as you're pinning, like if you start seeing, hey, I really want to pin something, but like I don't have a board for it, then add a board. This is like kind of start small and you'll get bigger over time. And then once you've been pinning for a while, then you're going to go second level on this and give yourself a way to pin or repin something again. So like, let's say I have a kidsactivities.com board, which like pretty much everything that comes out on my blog goes to that board first. But then I also have a activities for kids board. And so some of my more popular pins that are on that kids activities, I might put on that. I also have a crafts for kids board. So I might like also pin some of those things to that. So I'm giving I have a board that's kind of general, and then I have some really specific boards that some of that same content would be available for. And I like to have maybe, at my scale, and I'm pinning about between 8 and 10 times a day right now. So that's just thinking about like if you're going to pin 1 or 2 times a day or 1 or 3 times a week or something like that. Think about the scale being a lot smaller. You don't need as many boards. You don't need as much. And by the way, both of those things are completely fine. Like I love Pinterest because you do you here. And there's no rules on that. So I like to have several boards that I can kind of repin to, but you can imagine it gets algorithmically complicated the more boards that you have. So start with 1 or 2 that make sense for those topics. And then as you get deeper into this and you're like, no, I really want this board, then go ahead and add it. And then basically the board, you'll have a board name and a board description. You want to think about those in SEO terms because this is a search engine. You don't have to get overly crazy with it, but thinking about what would people search when they're looking for the information that's on your boards. The cool thing is we have inside of Page Wheel Packs, we have an SEO keywords and strategy place that you could go describe your business in Page Wheel Packs, go to the website blog pack subcategory and then choose the SEO keywords and strategy, and it's going to give you some ideas. So I put in for this one is that my business is coaching bloggers in SEO and content marketing. And so it gave me different topics that I might consider SEO wise that I might think about using. I don't have to use these words perfectly, but it helps me decide, hey, do I really, like if that's my business, do I really need a board for SEO? Based on the search, yes, it probably would be good to have a SEO board. And so this can just give you some ideas as you're planning out your structure, what some of the topics you might want to have on boards, and then what topics I might say, okay, SEO coaching for bloggers and blog SEO training is the same. So I'm going to make one board that kind of encompasses both, but it also gives you example sentences that you might use on the description, or gives you some ideas of what to name it and what to put in the description. All right, so now we have our boards. You've created your account, you've created your boards, and now we're talking about pinning or filling up those boards with pins, creating the environment that you want to be seen in for each of those topics. And I want you to think about each of those boards kind of being its own ecosystem within Pinterest. So you're going to obviously pin things that fit onto those boards. If you're pinning something more than once, you're going to make variations. So the pin highlighting a different aspect of the content. All your pins should look different. What really the one hard and fast don't do on Pinterest is pin the same thing over and over and over again. You'll see this sometimes in your feed when someone's, even if you're pinning them to different boards. Because what you'll see is your feed is you'll just see the same thing over and over again. So you can pin that same image to another board. I just would wait till you have some space in between them. So how I manage this is I will pin something, I'll pin that same article maybe just once today. And I'm pinning a whole bunch of articles. I use my editorial calendar to know what to pin. And then I might go back in 2 or 3 days and go through and pin the ones that are more popular on Pinterest again to a different board. That gives me some space and some pins in between to dilute that same image. But if I wanted to pin something, so the other day I made several new pins for an article, and I did pin the same image, I would say the same post several times in a row, but it was different images to different boards. So it dilutes that conversation in a way that no one's like, oh my God, would Holly stop posting about the eclipse all in a row? But like we talked about, it's also fine to pin a bunch of a variety of content to a board you just started. Or like if you're like, oh, I just realized that my Christmas board is not ready for Christmas. It's okay to pin Christmas things today to your Christmas board. Pinterest knows that it's a Christmas board. Pinterest knows not to send out all your Christmas pins to your entire feed. Now, the funny thing is it might send out a few of your Christmas pins to your feed, and people start clicking on them, it might send out a whole bunch more. And just FYI on a lot of these trends, if you look at a Pinterest trend thing, people are generally pinning 4 and 5 months in advance of certain things. So like right now, Pinterest is absolutely expecting me to be pinning summer items, 4th of July, that kind of stuff. And even close to back to school stuff, even though we traditionally think of that as maybe an August, September thing. In Pinterest world, it goes back it used to be 2 months, and then it was 3 months, and then it was 4 months. Literally, you could pin anything right now, but you'll see those trends of some of those things going in 4 and 5 months in advance. All right. So let's look at just the nuts and bolts of what it means to make a pin. So this is a screenshot of basically the blank template that you create a pin with. So you're adding the image, you're adding a title, you're adding a description, you're adding alt text. And what alt text means is you are describing the image like you can't see it. And then you're adding a destination link. If you do not have a destination link, you do not have to put one there, okay? So for instance, maybe we're doing an inspirational saying maybe you have an inspirational quotes. In my case, I'd maybe have inspirational quotes for bloggers. I could have a whole board full of things that are just quotes, and so they don't necessarily have to have a destination link. Now, if I happen to have content, like maybe I have 101 quotes for bloggers, I would be maybe making all those into infographics and then linking back to that post on every single one of them. And then you can see that you can publish immediately or publish at a later date. And that's just Pinterest's way of allowing you to schedule in advance. So when we talked about that situation where maybe you do want to pin this same image multiple times to different boards, this is a way you can sit down and do that all in one batch, but maybe put it out 3 days, 6 days, a week, 2 weeks in advance so that you're putting space in between them. And then up here, you're going to have access to all of the boards so that you can search your boards, you can search topics in your boards. And the cool thing is once you've uploaded an image, a lot of times Pinterest is going to suggest what board to put it on. I actually like those suggestions a lot of times. And so if I don't have a strong feeling about where I'm going to put this, I'll usually default to what Pinterest tells me to do. But that's really up to you. So that's what this looks like. So now we're going to say what to pin. So I'm going to go through some of the aspects of Page Wheel Packs that will give you some content and ideas so you're not staring at that pin, that empty pin template. So we'll start with something you guys are all familiar with, is the social calendar. Well, if you may not have even noticed, but there is a Pinterest social calendar on that. There's Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and then the groups. So here I was thinking, oh, let's just look at the first one, creating a board featuring inspirational quotes for coaches looking to grow their business. So if you were just getting started, that's a really great idea that has a board idea, then that has a really easy way to fill a board with things that might be, in your wheelhouse. So that's and you can see there's all sorts of different ideas. Some of these are more like, oh, that's going to take a lot of work. Some of them are really quick and easy. But remember, if you don't get as many ideas as you want in this, just run it again, or go in and change the prompt a little bit and run it again until you get as many ideas as you want. So that's the first place you can look. If you're looking for brainstorming, like what do I even think about pinning, then I really like the Content Pizzazz Makers. And this was, if you've been with us since the beginning, this used to be our editorial calendar idea list. And we've just rebranded it as Pizzazz Makers. You can find this in the copy packs under blog/website and choose the Content Pizzazz Makers. And what you can see is that there's all sorts of questions. This is literally a good brainstorming, all sorts of questions to answer within whatever you searched, all sorts of motivational ideas, and then tips and tutorials. So you could see that you could pull one pin out of this. You could pull a whole board out of this. You could pull a whole conversation that you have over many, many months from these ideas. It just gives you an idea, gives you some guidance as to, hey, here's some things people are looking for in this space. Now, when we're thinking about, okay, we have these ideas, then how do we get, what should we put in the copy? And there's 2 places in the copy packs to find Pinterest copy that was actually coded for Pinterest. The first one is in the 3 Pinterest descriptions. These are both under on social content packs. One is 3 Pinterest descriptions, which is pictured at the top. And then Post Per Platform also has a Pinterest copy idea. So in fact, it's interesting. And what's cool is you can use hashtags, by the way, on Pinterest, just like you can on other places. And so these do have hashtags in here. But you can see how it gives you a title and then a description. And so in this case, instead of just describing your big whole business idea, you might say, okay, I'm about to pin X, give me a description. So you might want to bring in your prompt of whatever you put into the copy packs, a page wheel. Page is more about, this is what this pin is about. And then I also like the viral hooks and descriptions for Pinterest, because ultimately we want people to click on this. So if you're thinking about, hey, I know what this is about, but how do I get someone to click on it? This can give you some ideas, and it may be for that one pin, it may be a little bit off, but you might find a word bank that you might want to add, like genius, numbers, boost, maximize. If these words don't come naturally to you like they do to Rachel, the rest of us we can use this cheat sheet that she put together for us. But like, thinking about so one of the things I put in here is how to use Pinterest as an entrepreneur. And so like that was what came to my brain. But you can see how if you were a coach and mine was Pinterest do's and don'ts, that's super more compelling than how to use Pinterest. So I really like these viral hooks, not just for ideas of content, but also honing down on what that pin is about and utilizing either the titles and descriptions, or at least some of the inspiration from these words. And these are also under social content packs. The other place that you might not think about, but the blog or website, if you're on the business version or a founder, you're going to have access to the blog and websites. And inside the blog post templates is a list of hashtags. So if you're thinking, hey, I do want to add hashtags to my Pinterest, you can grab these. I also, every once in a while, will grab a paragraph. The Pinterest descriptions, I can't remember if there's a limit to them, but they allow a lot of words. So while they're always, any algorithm's going to favor the first first line or two that you'll use, Pinterest allows you to put a whole bunch of words in there. So sometimes if you want to create like almost a content-based pin, even if you're linking somewhere else, remember it's a search engine. So the more information that algorithm has, the better off you're going to be. So you could maybe even grab a paragraph from that blog post, depending on how relevant it is to your copy. But it just gives you a lot of different options for that. All right, so let's make a pin, and to do that, I am going to stop my share, and then I'm going to go to another way to share here. And I had all my tabs open, which may or may not still be open. Here, oh, they are, yay. I think, no, maybe not. Oh my gosh, here. So I am going to share my screen again. All right, so here we are at, I need to move y'all. I'm gonna move y'all down here to the bottom. Well, if it lets me, it's not letting me. Okay, so this is just, when I just type in Pinterest.com, this comes to, and I'm, by the way, Holly Homer, all one word, if you wanna take a look at the hot mess that I've created. And so you can see, in fact, this is what I've pinned over this is probably the last day and a half of what, and you can see like each one is different looking. But in fact, all these, you can see a lot of my Earth Day things are right here, kind of in the middle, which don't look bad when they're, even though I made a whole thing and it's really heavy on Earth Day, it's really not crazy even in my regular feed. You can see that. And then if you want to see what I've saved, so these are all the pins I've created. And then the saved ones are over here on the boards. And this is where you do what I say, not what I do, because I have lots and lots and lots of boards. Whoa, Nelly on that one. So if we're going to create a new pin, what I'm going to do is go up here and I'm going to go to create a pin. And the other place you can do, by the way, and let me just show you how this works. Let me go to Kids Activities blog. And we will, I fixed that, it didn't show up. Let's do this one. So there's plugins and Pinterest ways that if you're on some content, you can just pin it directly. And you can get those from Pinterest directly, or there's Chrome browsers and that kind of stuff, or you can click on the pin it button. I like to use the Chrome browser that Pinterest gives up. So and I don't know if you can see my pop-up, but it pops up all the images that are available for Pinterest over here. Are you seeing the pop-up? Okay, so I'm just gonna grab this and then I just chose that pin. I'm gonna put it on activities. Let's see, activities for kids, and that will automatically pin it with just those 2 steps. And what it does is it will use the default to the title and the first paragraph or 2 for the title and description. Or if I was really industrious, I could have basically inside that plugin inside WordPress forced a title and description, which that's a lot of work. What I just do is make sure that I know that my first paragraph is likely a description for a lot of metadata. So we just write our first paragraph with that in mind. All right, let's go back to, so that's one way that you can pin something that is content on the internet, and I can go to any site and do that. It doesn't have to be my own. Or I could do that same pin manually by uploading that image, by putting that title, by putting that link and all those kind of sites. And that's what we're going to do right now. So why don't you give me a subject matter for a pin today?
How to market page wheel.
How to market page wheel.
Yay, April.
All right. So I use PicMonkey because I'm 150 years old, but many of you use Canva. And it's going to be the kind of the same thing. And I'm just going to walk you through just a very simple way to make a pin. So I'm going to just go into create new. I'm going to go to a blank canvas. I'm going to go down to a Pinterest template, and both Canva, any photo editor is going to have some amount of Pinterest templates. In general, with Pinterest, you want the length to be longer than the width. But I've done a ton of testing and talked to people who only do Pinterest marketing all day. For the most part, it doesn't have to be uniform. In fact, when I hired someone to do my Pinterest, and that's all she did all day, and she did a lot of testing, they were making different size pins for me. Some of them were 4 by 6, some of them were 1,000 by 1,500. Basically now Pinterest prefers that it's at least 1,000 pixels wide. And they say they don't like the really, really long ones, but some of the really, really long ones that they say they don't like are still being popular on Pinterest. So Pinterest is notorious for telling you that they don't like something and then doing the exact opposite. So just if it makes sense to have a long pin, then do it. If you go into the analytics and see that it didn't get any reach, you might want to go back and redesign it in a shorter manner. But in my experience, it doesn't really matter. And the reason why longer is just the way Pinterest rolls with their scroll is you have a little bit more real estate if it's a longer than, but that being said, some of my top pins are squares, and kind of makes me mad that anybody who worked for me pinned a square, because they're not supposed to do that. But then again, it's a top pin, so can't be mad. And this is why following just letter of the law advice does not work anymore anywhere. Is test it out. If it makes sense to you, do it, and just see the results, because there is no hard and fast rules for any of this. All right, so I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, my internet's unstable again. I hope I don't lose y'all. All right, so I'm gonna go in and add a graphic, and we are going to actually, let's add an image from stock photos. Let's say, what type of person, April, do we want to be targeting with Page Wheel?
Well, I mean, people like us that are, work from home moms that are just looking to simplify their life.
That's really good,
Okay.
April.
Okay.
And stop spending so much time trying to create content.
Yeah, so give me a household task that takes less than 10 minutes.
Give you a what?
A household task that takes like, Like,
Loading the
Spiffing up the
dishwasher.
kitchen, like swapping the dishwasher over.
okay, so, loading
Unload and
dishwasher.
reload.
Let's put dishwasher. Why it is literally,
Or like,
really?
type in do
Dishwasher?
the dishes. Do the dishes. I don't know.
Dishes?
Kitchen, just say clean up the kitchen.
Oh, here it is. I don't know what it was doing. All right, so let's find a dishwasher. Let's do clean dishes. This is the other thing that I learned when I used to, when I was a physical therapist, I was specialized in chronic pain. And so you would think, oh, advertising a pain clinic, you're like, hey, you're in pain. No, you actually want to like flip that on the head. You don't want to advertise pain. You want to advertise what you can do when you don't have pain anymore. So one of the things is like, so when we're looking at a dishwasher, we could put dirty dishes in there, which we could use to our advantage, because it's going to stop the scroll more. But in the general, we probably want to go with like more of an aspirational clean dishes type thing. So I'm going to find something that looks like, man, I wish that was my dishwasher. Instead of the hot mess that my dishwasher actually is.
Or you could have somebody hanging out on their screened in porch because they don't have to sit there and toil over.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
content.
kind of with the pain clinic. But I was thinking that for this one, and then also I know that I want something that's up and down, so I'm going to grab this one. And let's just add this on here.
You know, if you drag it, it will grab it and set it to the right size to fit the image.
Yeah, except that with this one, I would then have to
Can you-
reposition it.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Holly?
I did. I use that all the
Oh,
time.
sorry, you cut out, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
That'd be a good time to use it.
All right. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space down here because I'm going to put some text.
No, I don't.
So
It's
we
Cynthia.
could
Can you mute
say,
Cynthia?
let's put some text, add text. And generally you
Which one are we talking
want,
about, Cynthia?
what do you
Can
think
Cynthia
about,
mute, please?
yeah, I'm gonna see who we got here.
Sorry, muted.
Okay, no worries. So basically what you want to think about here is that you want it very clear. So when you're thinking about fonts, colors, you're less thinking about your brand, by the way. Pinterest doesn't care about you. Okay. So you don't like, it doesn't matter. In fact, I kind of had this argument with my Pinterest person for a while because I was like, well, if you don't care what color it is, then why wouldn't you put my colors? And she's like, because Pinterest doesn't care about you. And I was super offended for a while. But no, like this is more about ideas, because you actually are better off if you can grab even people who wouldn't necessarily fall in line with that. Like you want it to be a million tops of funnels. So because you could literally pin this a million different ways. So let's just say here, in the time it takes to empty your dishwasher, you could make that lead magnet you need. Okay. So
Oh, you're so good.
obviously I can't put it this way because like it's, no one can read it. So this is where I just get a little crazy on this. So I am going to pull this down, I think. And then I'm going to make this right justified. I'm going to put a block of color behind it. By the way, I have been on PicMonkey for like 15 years. So you can't out PicMonkey me. And
Just in case there's a PicMonkey contest.
and you know,
way.
why isn't there a PicMonkey contest? Like,
I know people always try to get me to use Canva, and I'm like, but I know PicMonkey.
yeah, I know. And Rachel keeps saying like, why are you still using? I'm like, because I'm not smart, like when it comes to this thing. So basically, in this case, all I want them to be able to do is read it. Okay. And so, and remember, this is just the picture. So then I'm going to put lead magnet information for entrepreneurs, which I cannot spell.
Do you put your logo on it?
Sometimes, but here again, like I would rather have a pin out there than something with a logo. But in this case, I don't know that I need one because I don't want someone to be like, oh, I know what that is. I want them to click on it. Let's go ahead and download that. So we're going to upload it here.
Now, see, that's another fight I've had with a lot of people too, is they're like, Pinterest is all about the picture. So why are you covering up the picture with that big white block and those black words? Because that's the fight, is the Pinterest purists.
Yeah. So, and by the way, so in the early days of Pinterest, and Diane was so on board for all of this, is that like people are like, people only click on pins that have text. And then there's other people that said people only pick on things that don't have text. So I actually had a software that would track pins. And I did this over a 6-month period, and I tracked all the pins that I made myself, and I'd make 2 versions, one with text and one with not. And then I also were able to test other people's pins. The truth is that when I made the pins and I controlled the environment, then yes, the pins with text had a little bit of an edge. It was like 55 to 45. The pins with text had a little bit of an edge. But when it came to the general public making pins, it actually, the text often convoluted things. So thinking about, because this is not the picture is not the only thing on Pinterest. We're about to add a title and a description. So you can see how the title and the description can completely change what the meaning of this is. So I'm not going to repeat this thing in the title. I'm going to say how to make a lead magnet. I'm going to say how to grow your email list. Okay. So basically you can see that the picture text complements it. It doesn't repeat it. And I think this is one of the reasons why my pins that with the text just added more information. Whereas a lot of people will put the exact same text on the pin and the exact same text in the title. That's wasting space. You're giving more context when you do this. So I'm going to say, we have the solution for quick and easy lead magnet making and distributing. And here again, talking like a human is what people is meaning. You can make a lead magnet and have a way to give it out in less than 10 minutes. Okay, hopefully it doesn't take you 10 minutes to empty your dishwasher, but I'm going to let that sit in their brain, because that's actually kind of a conversation they might have around my product at this point. So, and then for the alt text, I would put text. And this is where I would add in the time it takes to empty your dishwasher. Anyway, you get the point. And then I would say,
why did you put text colon?
I just do that, or I put like, I will write the thing and I put that, because just so that the whatever the computer is that's reading it, it's making it clear to the blind person or the person that can't see it, or the algorithm that can't read it, that that is text on top of an image. You don't have to do that. That's just how I've always done it. And then I'm going to say dishwasher open, filled with clean dishes. And then if I had my logo on there, I might put like kids activities logo or page wheel logo or something like that. And then if I had like, this is where, I would want to send this to a place that answers this question. So I'd grab the link from maybe the page wheel blog, or maybe from a piece of content, like a video that you did that tells how this does. But you can see how you could do one YouTube video and literally have 150 pins that all look completely different, that answer different questions that you answered in that. That's the beauty of Pinterest. So like when we used to do roundup posts, I might have 100 ideas that, 100 ways to 100 paper plate crafts for kids. I could literally have a pin for every single one of those 100 paper plate crafts, and I have 100 pins plus the 100 ideas for this pin. So I might have collage pins. I might have the other thing that Rachel kind of pioneered in the early days of Pinterest is that she would make like 100 ideas for something that have different segments. So maybe you have party ideas and they might have decorations for that party. So she'd make a pin collage of, decorations for a unicorn party, food for a unicorn party is a whole nother pin, activities for a unicorn party, invitations for a unicorn party. So you can see, even though it's that one blog post, that we're sending out like basically big idea concepts around each one of those segments as well. And then you could individually market them too. So don't think that like literally you could make one piece of content that you market on Pinterest for the rest of your life. And I've proven that because when we were on a podcast the other day, Rachel was talking about this post that she did 100 years ago, like literally probably 12 to 15 years ago, where she made this sourdough bread and it went viral. It was one of our first virals. And she told the story and she goes, yeah, I haven't made bread in like, 15 years. And I'm like, Rachel, I literally pinned that article yesterday. So, because it's still in my top pins. So anyway, so don't think, this is what's so good about Pinterest is that even though it's an old post, if it's still popular, you can keep the promo going. Because yes, the images were horrible back there. Guess what? I've updated them. I've made a new, different ways to attract people to it. But literally this piece of content that she wrote, 12, 15 years ago is still something I pin today.
And so only Rachel would have Juju from 15 years ago, and now sourdough is all the rage.
Well, I know. See, she is trendsetter. So then once I have this, I would add that destination link because I rarely pin something without a link because I am a content creator. But like you would rather have something on Pinterest to attract followers and attract people to you than not. But you could even add, like if we could put pagewheel.com on there. But Pinterest does want it to be something that is cohesive. So like, you don't want to do like, because what do spammers do? They might put like, hey, 15 ways to do X, and then they send you to, like, I don't know, a sales page somewhere that has nothing to do. So you do want that cohesion. But as long as it's a cohesive, that's why I'd probably send this to a blog post on Pagewheel that talks about how to grow your email list. All right. So then what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to put, I have a blogging how-to board, which would work really well. So I would just publish that, and then I have that pin, or I could publish it at a later date right there. And
with no link, it doesn't need to go anywhere.
So it doesn't have to have a link. I would recommend having a link when you can, but don't, like, if you're doing a whole bunch of quotes and you don't have a home base for those quotes, then push them out there. You, by the way, once I push this out there, you can edit the pin later, which is also something you can do. So, but when you edit pins, it's going to change the way the algorithm looks at them, by the way. So it's not like something you'd want to do all the time, but like if you have something that you're like, oh, I forgot to add that link, just go and edit it. So, all right.
So Holly, for your suggestion of the unicorn recipes, unicorn invitation, unicorn, all the different things. Would the board be unicorn parties and then each of the pins would be all different, right?
So this is the beauty of it. Let's say you have a party board. It's just a party board, party ideas. Then you
Okay.
can see how all of those pins like are fit really, really perfect. What if you have a unicorn board? All of those pins are going to fit really, really great. What if you have a ideas girls love? And I don't want to get into the politics of what I just said. But like then you can say like basically all those things, or like on my activities for kids, like when I say activities for kids, maybe the food and the invitation ones don't really work, but the party games for unicorn parties certainly does. Or maybe we have a games thing, and so you can see how you're going to have some boards that everything fits into it. And then you're going to have some boards that you might use for just the activities or just the food. So the really fun recipes. So those food ideas inspired by unicorns would look really good on that board, but that may not work really well for things to do with kids. You might want to just do the party games or something on that board.
Thank you.
And let me go through the chat here. Anyone else have a question?
My Pinterest is a hot mess with glitter dumped on top of it because it was just a place where I kept things for the longest time. It was literally a bulletin board for my brain. And that in and of itself is ridiculous. So it is better what you're saying. I'm thinking I'm hearing this is to let everyone land on a blog post rather than some of these people that are one of those, these people that are just, I made $1 million in a minute and here's how you do it and blah, blah, blah. They're everywhere right now. And they're just, I just want to send them all to camp. And so instead of doing Amazon idea boards and Amazon, because you can't put an Amazon link anywhere, you can put an Amazon idea list, because putting a specific link is technically against their TOS, even though everybody does it. But it's
Not
better
in
to go to a blog post, right?
So, and Pinterest, by the way, this is a really good point. Pinterest is a shoppable place. Pinterest is a place very similar to Instagram that people go to shop for things. So if you have products, and there's definitely ways to just put those products straight out on Pinterest, just like you can on Instagram. You probably want to do a little research as to how that goes. But then in addition to that, you could also be creating, and this is kind of what I want you to think about. It's not just Pinterest, but all of social media in a certain extent, is that you have one piece of content and there's literally 1.5 million ways to promote it. So I think a lot of times what people are like, I wrote this as this. And so they've only put it out onto Facebook once and Pinterest once and Instagram once with that idea that was in their head for that post. And what I'm saying is make your life much easier. Write the post or do the video or create the content wherever that might be, and then promote the heck out of it across the board. Because you can see we made a pin together in 5 minutes. And once you get good at it and have templates and stuff like that, you can do that in 2 minutes or less. So instead of making a whole new content piece, a whole new video, a whole new this, go make a pin for it. Go wait, have a new idea that you promoted out on Facebook, all these other things. Like don't recreate the wheel every day. And by the way, this may help you think about this, is in blog land, I would say 80% of our traffic comes to less than 20 blog posts on our blog. Okay? So if I am if I am just creating content and pushing it out there and pushing it out there, you can see that I am missing out on 80% of my content. So really, I'm pinning my 20 top blog posts way more than I'm pinning that thing I made today. Because if we're looking at traffic, so when you think about your own business, you always think of that about the 80-20 rule, but in promotion land, a lot of times, and this, you've seen this, one idea goes viral and all the other 99 don't. So it's almost like that 1% needs 99% of your effort. And from there, you'll learn what else to promote.
That's one of the things that I've learned here is that because in my mind, I've already said, I have this basics of online. So I don't need to say it again because I said it on Tuesday, but
Right.
I need to pin it. I need to write a blog post about it. I need to make an Instagram reel about it. And then I need to do a YouTube video about it. And then I need to do a carousel. All of those things can be the same message because different people are going to see it different ways. And that's something I've just got to
Yeah.
If I was busy on
because
Tuesday.
we get that feeling that we're bugging people with the same thing over and over and over, but they don't even see it.
No,
That's our
and
mindset.
if you had good response to something on Instagram, to an image or to a short video, and by the way, you can do very short videos on Pinterest too, idea pins that are a little bit more like stories or reels. I don't know what to call anything anymore. They're like, it's stupid. It's all the same thing. But it's just, we call it different on different things. But if you have that there, you could upload that to Pinterest or be inspired by whatever worked somewhere else. I often will use images from stories as Pinterest pins, and that's what the beautiful thing about uploading an image into, an editor and just, maybe you had some text on it for Instagram that you want to get rid of. I just put a block of color over it and write over it or something. Like, do not overthink these. Like Pinterest is an aspirational place. People do like beautiful things, but on the other hand, my top pins are generally things that are pictures or things that I kind of cringe at now, but I repin them because they're top pins. And so just run with success wherever that takes you, even if it's ugly sometimes.
So Holly, I'm trying to start pinning stuff, and by trying, I mean I've done it like one time, but I'm pinning other people's stuff. And are my pins for haircuts that I might want to get done or lipsticks I might want to try impacting my business negatively by putting them on my Pinterest board? Or should I
No.
have like a private one?
No, nope,
Okay.
nope. Because basically Pinterest is either going to, if I follow you and I'm bald, so those haircuts just have no, basically very quickly, Pinterest is just going to remove that part of my content across the board. So back in the early days of Pinterest, it might have been a deal, but I didn't even find it there. The early experts on Pinterest be like I literally had, and this is why I always bring up my boot board and my tile board, is that the first Pinterest experts were like, Holly, you got to get rid of those. And I'm like, well, then Pinterest is no fun for me, so I won't do it. So because if you use Pinterest as a user, you understand better how to use it for your business. So spending, 20 minutes this week pinning things just to see what catches your eye, and I will often screenshot it. It is completely a selfish endeavor when I actually go in, because I'll go into the feed just to see what catches my eye, what I would repin, and I snapshot it and I pull it into a folder so that next time I'm making a pin, I use that as inspiration for what that pin looks like. So because and search popular recipes or popular whatever, just to see what is getting attention on Pinterest, and then use that same idea for templating whatever you're creating. But no, you have a board for that, so it's completely separate. I think Pinterest likes you to be a human. I think Pinterest likes you to use it. I think one of the things that hurts some bloggers that are super users in Pinterest world is that Pinterest never sees them as a normal user. So and by the way, we built Pinterest. So let's get that out there. Like, without all that blog content that we have pinned since the beginning of time, Pinterest would have nothing to show their people. So it kind of is funny that they try to take it back now, but it's just like any algorithm, they want to change the rules at some time. But no, I think being a real user on Pinterest is only a benefit versus a detriment. Let's see, Cynthia, apparently they have campaigns. I just switched my personal to a business. Oh yeah, you can link to Amazon. I think you have to add in your Amazon account what your Pinterest account is. I can't remember, just Google it, but there is a way to do that.
You do. It has to be one of your properties in your influencer account for Amazon. You have to list all of your public properties. And as long as that's there, I think it's fine, but I need to send in another email just to verify, because I'm almost sure that you can do idea lists. But I don't.
Yeah, you can definitely do that
direct links anymore, which I don't know why do they care?
They don't. They're literally making up rules to make things complicated. And you have to understand, they make these rules to be able to go after the people that they're trying to go after. So they're not trying to go after, they're making money off of you. They don't care about you.
Yeah, like this walk-in pad, I had so many people ask me about fitness faves, which if anybody knows me, that's a hilarious. Even April doesn't have fitness faves because I'm fitness pizza in my mouth. But I had the rowing machine and the walking pad, and then the thing that's under the rowing machine. Those are the only 3 things on that idea list. So it's real easy to find if you look at that list.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, so and let's talk about just the philosophically between posting the product directly to Pinterest and posting either to your store. Actually, let's say a blog post that you wrote that has a collection or a review or something like that. So if there is a disclosure that you have to do on social media when you are going to make money off the affiliate link or something like that. So if you're directly doing it straight to the product, you would have to do some sort of disclosure. Elva's saying it's hashtag ad on Pinterest. There's probably a few other ways to do that too, but just look into that. If you're going directly, you need to have some sort of disclosure because you don't want to trick the reader into giving you money that they didn't know that you had a vested interest in. But if you're going to your blog post and you have a whole bunch, you're going to be disclosing there. So it's really, you're sending them to a content piece that has a disclosure at the top. So you're still in line. You don't have to have that disclosure on the actual Pinterest pin. Yeah, same thing. It's basically across the board. Is if you just have to have the disclosure before that person clicks to spend money with you. So
I don't think it has to be hashtag ad. I mean, I usually just put it in this is something that I bought on Amazon or that you can get on, just something.
Yeah. If you actually read, and the FTC has very, very clear guidelines on this. I know that sounds scary to go to the FTC website, but it's like 4 paragraphs of very clear information. There's a lot of people trying to overcomplicate it, and they're trying to overcomplicate it because they're trying to either not do it or do it in a basically you have to convey that you have a vested interest in that link. That's
Yeah,
that's
that's what it
basically
is.
it. So
Yeah.
Or I could earn some money if you buy this.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, because
And they don't want you saying, like, we used to, our standard disclosure on Facebook for a long time was, you know, if you buy this, you know, you're contributing to our coffee, you know, fund or whatever like that. It was kind of a cute little, and they said that we had to stop that because, and by the way, they told us, they didn't shut me down or anything. They said that the way I had it phrased was basically too friendly, and I was enticing people with that friendly conversation. So you can't say, hey, I'm poor right now and I need you all go buy this right now. So like, or I need money today. Can you go buy this affiliate? You can't like entice your readers into it, but you need to disclose that if they do purchase that on their own accord, that you're going to get money from it
And it has to be before the link that they
before the
click.
link. Yeah.
it's just the power of our influence, really, is what they're
No.
saying, is that it really is. It's I mean, any kind of word of mouth referral from you to your people
Yeah.
carries way more weight, right? So they want to temper that with, yes, I actually am getting paid to do this, so, or I might get paid. So there's you have to think about that before you click.
Yeah, and if you ever want to know disclosure rules, ask a blogger. We have been cracked down on at a level that influencers and TV and radio and podcasts have never, ever dreamed of being. And it makes me so mad. 'Cause
Oh,
I
they're
feel
coming
like
after
network
you.
marketing's the same way. There's so many
Yeah.
FTC regulations.
So, but the main thing is if you have a disclosure, you can show you have a disclosure before that person clicked on something to pay money, then you're in the clear. That's really what the disclosure. But if you look on Instagram, the influencers aren't doing it. If you look on radio, they're not doing it. If you look on TV, they're not doing it. It's ridiculous, but the bloggers know how to do it. All right. Anything else on Pinterest today?
This was amazing, Holly. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Great training,
So-
thanks.
I have a question. If
Yeah.
if you don't put a link, I can't imagine I wouldn't,
Right.
but if you don't put a link, are they following the board then and they follow you,
Yeah,
or?
so one of the reasons you would do that is to basically market, you know, the fact that they may click to the board, they may follow the person that posted that. It's a follower grab kind of. And sometimes you won't be able to do a link because Pinterest is like, because they would say it's spammy if you put something out there and then linked it to something that's not relevant.
Mhm.
So that's where, and in that case, what they might do is remove the link or remove the pin.
So you're building an audience as well as
Yeah,
sending traffic
it's kind
places.
of like any other, the more followers supposedly. Now, what I love about Pinterest is like I'll see that a pin is just sending boatloads of traffic. So I'll go over and try the source of the pin, and it's inevitably somebody in Iowa that has 2 boards and 3 pins. Mine was one of them. And you're just like, why Pinterest? Why? But I think part of it is that they think, well, if this chick in Iowa only pinned 3 things and this was one of it, it must have been really, really good. So
Yeah.
I think there's a certain amount of that, just like any algorithm's going to like you better in the beginning. You know, if you have a Facebook page with 100 people, you get a lot better percentage than if you have a Facebook page with 1 million.
Yeah.
So I think like, and at the beginning of this, you know, leverage that, you know, put out your best stuff. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is in the olden days of Pinterest, I would pin 2 of somebody else's for every 1 I pin for myself. I don't even bother anymore. I hardly ever pin other people's things unless it's something that I want to pin. I don't ever pin something for someone else because I feel like I have to. If that makes sense. All right.
There was so much peer pressure in the beginning that they were what I call Pinterest purists, and they wanted you to do things their way, and that's why we would pin 2 to 1, and do only pictures and little bit of text and yeah, all that stuff because they complain so much and so loudly.
Yeah, and what was that thing that I subscribed to it one time back when I had a baby blog? Like you were pinning like 3 service that would pin and
I
repin.
Oh,
can't-
Tailwind.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk just a second about that. Tailwind is still around and it still allows you to schedule your pins and stuff like that. There's also groups that you can get on that you repin other people's content and you can get your content in that. That still exists. People, even people who do Pinterest every day still swear by it. So I don't like, I think the point of Pinterest, just like any other algorithm, is just pin good things. Don't
Mhm.
pin bad things, and then pin things that are working. Like if you see something is working, then go make some more images based on the image that's working so that you're getting new things that are inspired by what's working in the algorithm. But Pinterest is a long game. Like, and that's what makes it hard to, it's not like you posted on Facebook and you might have 100 people show up. Pinterest is you posted on Pinterest today and Pinterest might find it in 18 months. Or Pinterest might, or like literally Pinterest in 5 years might say, this is the most viral pin we've ever had. Or Pinterest might just say, nah, it's a lottery system. So you just keep pinning and learning from the pins that are doing well or scratching your head at the pins that are doing well. And you know, the thing is if you are going to pin, like if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to pin something for April today, which is absolutely fine. You know, don't pressure each other, but it's absolutely fine to pin each other's stuff. No big deal. Just pin stuff that's doing well for her. Don't pin or pin something that's brand new. That's fine too. But don't pin that crappy pin that nobody repinned from 6 months ago. Like use your statistics to only repin stuff that's doing well. Do not repin crap. And crap means stuff that Pinterest didn't like, not crap by our standards. So, all right, guys, have an amazing eclipse or apocalypse. We'll see you later.
We'll see you after
Bye,
it.
thanks, Holly.
Get your 10